Buddha's serene smile hides secrets few dare to explore. Beyond temples and incense lies a hidden truth about enlightenment that challenges everything we've been taught. Who was the real Buddha? Why were certain teachings suppressed or rewritten? And could the path to true inner peace be far simpler or more radical than we've ever imagined? In this video, we'll peel back layers of myth, reveal ancient wisdom lost to time, and expose what they don't want you to know about Buddha, enlightenment, and the ultimate journey to inner freedom. Stay tuned, because what you're about to discover might change your life forever. For many, the name Buddha conjures a serene figure seated in meditation, exuding calmness and compassion. His teachings, simplified into quotes about mindfulness and peace, have spread worldwide, finding their way into coffee mugs, Instagram posts, and wellness retreats. Yet, hidden beneath the familiar symbols and simplified slogans lies a far more complex, and at times radical, truth about Buddha, enlightenment, and the journey to genuine inner peace. Today, we peel back the layers of myth, misinterpretation, and cultural appropriation to explore what they don't want you to know. That the Buddha was not merely a peaceful philosopher, but a revolutionary thinker whose ideas were meant to dismantle suffering at its root, even if that meant challenging societal norms, religious dogma, and the very concept of the self. The man behind the myth. Siddhartha Gautama, later known as the Buddha, was born in the 5th or 6th century BCE in what is now Nepal. His early life, according to traditional accounts, was one of privilege. A prophecy at his birth predicted he would become either a great king or a spiritual leader. Fearing the latter, his father shielded him from all suffering, ensuring Siddhartha grew up surrounded only by beauty, youth, and comfort. But as the story goes, when Siddhartha finally left the palace, he encountered what Buddhist texts call the four sights: an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and an ascetic monk. This shattered his illusions of a perfect world and set him on a quest to understand suffering and how to transcend it. Yet even this familiar narrative has its complexities. Early Buddhist texts portray the Buddha as a deeply human figure, prone to moments of doubt, intense self-discipline, and profound questioning. He experimented with severe asceticism, nearly starving himself to death, before realizing that neither indulgence nor extreme deprivation led to freedom. His famous middle way was born from personal trial and error, not instant enlightenment. The radical nature of Buddha's teachings. One of the most hidden truths about the Buddha is how radical his teachings were in the context of ancient Indian society. At the time, Hinduism, or rather, its Vedic precursor, was steeped in ritual sacrifices, rigid caste divisions, and the authority of Brahmins as spiritual gatekeepers. Liberation, moksha, was considered possible only through strict adherence to ritual and social duties. The Buddha upended this entirely. He declared that liberation was accessible to anyone, regardless of caste, gender, wealth, or occupation. His message was fundamentally egalitarian. Suffering is universal, but so is the potential for awakening. He taught that all conditioned things are impermanent and nikka. There is no eternal, unchanging soul, anatta. Attachment and craving, tanha, are the root causes of suffering. Suffering can be ended through ethical living, mental discipline, and wisdom, the Eightfold Path. These concepts were explosive. By denying the existence of an eternal self, anatta, Buddha contradicted the core doctrines of the spiritual traditions around him. This teaching was not just philosophical. It was a tool for dismantling the illusion of I and mine, which Buddha identified as the ultimate sources of suffering. Why some teachings were hidden or softened. So why has the image of the Buddha become so sanitized, reduced to soft platitudes about peace and positivity? Part of the answer lies in history and cultural transmission. As Buddhism spread from India to other parts of Asia and eventually the West, it underwent significant transformations. Monks and scholars adapted the teachings to local cultures, languages, and political contexts. In China, Buddhism merged with Taoism, emphasizing harmony and balance. In Japan, Zen Buddhism focused on direct experience and simplicity. By the time Buddhism reached the modern Western world, it often arrived stripped of ritual, reborn as a secular mindfulness practice. In this process, some of the more challenging teachings were softened or even omitted entirely. The doctrine of anatta, no self, for instance, is profoundly unsettling for many. The idea that there is no permanent I can feel threatening or nihilistic if misunderstood. Many modern presentations of Buddhism skip this teaching, focusing instead on stress reduction and emotional well-being. Moreover, the Buddha's radical critique of social hierarchy and religious authority has often been downplayed. It's far easier to sell Buddhism as a personal wellness tool than as a revolutionary philosophy that challenges the structures of power and identity. The hidden face of enlightenment. Another hidden truth is that enlightenment or nirvana is not simply about achieving a blissful state. It is a profound existential transformation marked by the cessation of craving and the realization of impermanence and non-self. Early Buddhist texts describe enlightenment as an experience of cooling. Nibbana literally means to extinguish, like putting out a fire of greed, hatred, and delusion. This contrasts sharply with the popular notion that enlightenment equals constant happiness. The Buddha did not promise everlasting bliss. Instead, he taught a path to freedom from suffering, a subtle but crucial difference. Enlightenment is freedom from the need for things to be a certain way, rather than perpetual delight. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha described nirvana as the unborn, unaging, unailing, deathless, sorrowless, undefiled supreme security from bondage. Yet he also emphasized that it's beyond concepts, and language cannot fully capture it. This makes enlightenment less a goal to be achieved than a radical shift in perception, a direct seeing into the true nature of reality. And this reality can be stark. Everything changes, nothing is permanent, and the sense of self is an illusion constructed by the mind. The real path to inner peace. So, what is the genuine path to inner peace according to the Buddha's hidden truths? At its core, Buddhism is a practical path. The Buddha was famously pragmatic. When asked metaphysical questions, like whether the universe is eternal or finite, he often refused to answer, saying such speculation does not lead to the cessation of suffering. Instead, he offered the Four Noble Truths as a practical framework. Life inevitably involves suffering dukkha. Suffering includes obvious pain, but also subtler forms like dissatisfaction, anxiety, and the fleeting nature of joy. The cause of suffering is craving tanha. We suffer because we cling to impermanent things, hoping they will provide lasting happiness. The cessation of suffering is possible nirvana. When craving ceases, suffering ends. The path to end suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path. This path encompasses right view, intention, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. This is not a path of blind faith. The Buddha urged people to test his teachings against their own experience, famously saying, "Do not go upon what has been acquired by repeated hearing, nor upon tradition, nor upon rumor, but when you yourselves know, these things are good, these things are blameless, these things are praised by the wise, undertaken and observed, these things lead to benefit and happiness, then enter on and abide in them." This spirit of inquiry is another hidden gem of Buddhism. It's not about adopting beliefs, but about seeing reality clearly. The misconception of mindfulness. One of the most significant modern distortions is the commercialization of mindfulness. Originally, sati mindfulness was part of a holistic path involving ethics, concentration, and wisdom. It was not merely about reducing stress or increasing productivity. Today, mindfulness is often packaged as a tool to feel better, divorced from its ethical and existential roots. But in Buddhist practice, mindfulness is a means of insight, to see impermanence, suffering, and non-self directly. It's not just about being present. It's about recognizing how the mind clings and creates suffering. Without this deeper context, mindfulness risks becoming a band-aid rather than a true path to liberation. Why the truth matters. So why does unveiling these hidden truths matter? Because the real power of Buddhism lies not in offering temporary relief, but in transforming how we relate to ourselves and the world. When we understand the impermanent and selfless nature of existence, we're less trapped by fear, less driven by craving, and more capable of genuine compassion. Buddhism's deeper teachings are not nihilistic. Recognizing the absence of a fixed self can actually be liberating. Without a rigid I to defend, we can move through life with greater fluidity, openness, and kindness. Moreover, the Buddha's social message remains urgently relevant. In a world grappling with inequality, polarization, and environmental crisis, his vision of universal human dignity and non-attachment to rigid identities offers profound guidance, bringing the hidden teachings into modern life. So how can we integrate these deeper truths into our lives today? Here are some practical steps inspired by the original teachings. Reflect on impermanence daily. Notice how thoughts, feelings, and situations arise and pass away. This softens attachment and fear. Question the self. When you feel strong emotions, ask, who is feeling this? Where is this I? Explore the possibility that the self is a process, not a permanent entity. Practice ethical living. True inner peace arises from living in alignment with values like non-harming, honesty, and compassion. Meditate beyond relaxation. Use mindfulness to observe the mind's habits, not just to calm down. See how craving and aversion create suffering. Stay curious. Adopt the Buddha's spirit of investigation. Don't believe something just because it sounds good. Test it in your own experience. The invitation to awaken. In the stillness of dawn, when the world is quiet and shadows soften into light, a subtle question often stirs in the human heart. Is there more to life than this? We feel it as a whisper beneath the noise of our daily routines, a persistent sense that somewhere within or around us lies a deeper reality waiting to be discovered. This gentle prompting is what I call the invitation to awaken, an inner calling to step beyond the surface of existence and into a direct experience of truth, freedom, and profound peace. But what does it mean to awaken? And why is this invitation so important and yet so easily ignored or misunderstood? To answer these questions, we need to look beyond spiritual cliches and dig into the essence of human experience itself, the sleep of ordinary life. To grasp awakening, it helps to understand the opposite, the sleep in which most of us live. This isn't physical sleep, but a kind of trance. We move through our days caught in habitual patterns of thought, emotional reactivity, and automatic behaviors. Our minds spin stories about who we are, what we want, and what we fear. We chase desires, avoid discomfort, and cling to familiar identities, often without pausing to question whether these pursuits bring true happiness. Modern life amplifies this trance. Constant notifications, social media, and relentless busyness keep us externally focused and internally scattered. We rarely sit quietly with ourselves long enough to ask profound questions like, who am I really? What is the purpose of my life? Is there a lasting peace beyond the ups and downs of my circumstances? When these questions do arise, We often suppress them with entertainment, distractions, or intellectual arguments. Yet despite all our efforts to stay asleep, the longing for something deeper never fully goes away. It's part of what makes us human, the essence of awakening. So what is awakening? Spiritual traditions across the world, from Buddhism to mystical Christianity, from Sufism to Advaita Vedanta, describe awakening as a shift in perception. It's not necessarily about attaining extraordinary states or supernatural abilities. Instead, it's about seeing reality as it truly is. At the heart of awakening is the realization that everything is impermanent. What we cling to, possessions, relationships, emotions, even our sense of self, is in constant flux. The self is not fixed. The I we believe ourselves to be is a mental construct, a narrative woven from memories, beliefs, and fleeting sensations. Suffering arises from ignorance. We suffer because we cling to illusions and resist the natural flow of life. Freedom is possible. By seeing through illusion, we discover a spacious awareness untouched by circumstances, a freedom that is our true nature. These insights are not merely intellectual. When experienced directly, they transform how we relate to ourselves and the world. We become less reactive, more compassionate, and deeply at peace even amid life's challenges. The Buddha's invitation. No tradition has articulated the invitation to awaken more clearly than Buddhism. The Buddha famously said, "I teach suffering and the end of suffering." At first glance, this may sound pessimistic, but it's profoundly hopeful. The Buddha recognized that life involves dissatisfaction, dukkha, because we crave permanence in an impermanent world. We want things to go our way, but they often don't. We want youth to last, love to stay, and pleasure never to fade, but everything changes. The Buddha's path is an invitation to look directly at this reality without fear. Instead of denying suffering, we investigate it. Instead of resisting impermanence, we embrace it. Through practices like mindfulness and meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions as transient phenomena rather than ultimate truths. The result is liberation, not an escape from life, but a new way of being within it. We act, love, and engage with the world, but with a deep inner freedom. The mystic's invitation. While Buddhism offers a precise psychological path, mystics from other traditions have described awakening in poetic, ecstatic terms. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote, "The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep." For Rumi, awakening is about dissolving the barriers between self and the divine, tasting unity where we once saw separation. The mystics speak of an unnameable presence, God Brahman, the beloved, that shines through all things. Awakening, in this view, is realizing that we are not separate from this presence. We are it, expressing itself in human form. Yet even here, the essence is the same. To awaken is to see through the illusion of separateness and to live in the light of truth. Why we resist awakening? If awakening brings freedom and peace, why don't more people pursue it wholeheartedly? The answer is complex, rooted in both biological instincts and cultural conditioning. Fear of the unknown. Awakening challenges our familiar sense of self. Letting go of who we think we are feels like death to the ego. Attachment to pleasure. Even when we know our habits don't bring lasting happiness, we cling to them because they're familiar and comforting. Cultural skepticism. In modern secular societies, talk of awakening can sound mystical, impractical, or even delusional. Busyness. Our lives are filled with endless tasks and distractions, leaving little space for contemplation. Yet despite these obstacles, the invitation to awaken persists. Life has a way of shaking us out of our slumber through loss, illness, or profound dissatisfaction. These moments of crisis often become turning points, opening us to deeper questions and the possibility of transformation. The path of practice. The invitation to awaken is not merely a mystical idea. It is a practical path available to anyone willing to explore. Here are some essential practices found across traditions. 1. Mindfulness and self-observation. Mindfulness is the art of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. We learn to watch our thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensations as they arise and pass away. With practice, we begin to see that thoughts are just thoughts, not facts. Emotions are impermanent waves, not fixed identities. The mind's stories often create unnecessary suffering. This observation loosens the grip of habitual reactions, creating space for wiser choices. 2. Contemplation and inquiry. Inquiry is the practice of asking deep questions and staying open to what arises. Who am I? What is this moment really? Is there awareness behind all my experiences? The purpose isn't necessarily to find verbal answers, but to cut through assumptions and glimpse the truth directly. 3. Ethical living. Almost every awakening tradition emphasizes ethics, not as moral commandments, but as natural expressions of an awakened mind. When we recognize our interconnectedness, harming others feels like harming ourselves. Practices like nonviolence, truthfulness, and compassion cultivate the conditions for inner peace. 4. Surrender. Paradoxically, awakening often comes through letting go rather than striving. We surrender our tight grip on control, allowing life to unfold as it will. Surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means acting wisely without being attached to outcomes. Signs of awakening. Awakening is not a single, dramatic moment for most people. It often unfolds gradually. Some common signs include a sense of spaciousness and inner stillness, even amid chaos. Reduced identification with thoughts and emotions. Increased compassion and empathy for others. Less fear of uncertainty and change. A deep knowing that peace is our natural state. These shifts may be subtle, but they transform the entire flavor of life. The integration of awakening. One of the hidden truths about awakening is that it doesn't end with a single realization. The journey continues as we integrate insights into daily life. Even after profound glimpses of truth, old patterns can resurface. Integration means living our insights in relationships, work, and society, staying humble and open to learning, being patient with the human condition. True awakening is not escaping life, but engaging with it from a place of wisdom and love. The collective dimension. In recent years, more people have begun to see awakening not just as a personal pursuit, but as crucial for the collective well-being of humanity. Our individual illusions of separation contribute to global crises, environmental destruction, social injustice, and political conflict. Imagine a world where more people realized, we are not separate from nature. We are not separate from each other. Inner peace and outer peace are intimately connected. This is the promise of awakening, not just personal liberation, but the possibility of a more compassionate, harmonious world. Responding to the invitation. So, how do we respond to the invitation to awaken? It begins with a simple willingness to look deeper. We don't need to become monks or renounce ordinary life. Instead, we can bring presence and inquiry into everything we do. While washing dishes, notice the warmth of the water. While speaking with a friend, listen deeply without rehearsing your response. When emotions arise, observe them with curiosity instead of resistance. When fear arises, ask, is this true? Who is afraid? These small acts of awareness accumulate. Bit by bit, the trance of unconscious living dissolves, revealing the luminous presence that has always been here. A final reflection. The invitation to awaken is timeless. It doesn't belong to any single religion or culture. It whispers through the rustling of leaves, the laughter of children, the silence between heartbeats. It asks us to remember who we are beyond our stories and roles. In the end, awakening is not about acquiring something new. It's about shedding what is false so that what is true can shine forth. As the 13th century Zen master Dogen said, "Enlightenment is intimacy with all things." May we each find the courage to accept this invitation, to open our eyes, our hearts, and our lives to the radiant truth that has been waiting for us all along. Thanks for joining me on this eye-opening journey into the hidden truths behind Buddha, enlightenment, and the real path to inner peace. If this video made you question what you've always believed or sparked new curiosity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into ancient wisdom and untold histories. Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. Remember, the journey to enlightenment begins within, and sometimes the greatest truths are the ones hidden in plain sight. Until next time, keep seeking, stay mindful, and never stop exploring the mysteries of the mind and spirit.